Guys, it's Dakota, and today we're going to be going over another Ikoria card that I think is sweet. It was spoiled in the beginning ish time, like when we started actually getting spoilers and things like that, and has a special Mothra uh, edition from the like Godzilla like series and everything that's in this set as well, which I probably should cover because I just really like all the art and I want to actually collect them and everything. But Anyway, Luminous Broodmoth is the card that we're going to be looking at. Again, spoiled in like the beginning of spoiler season, all the special arts, things like that, that we got to see with it when it was spoiled. What the heck does this card do? It is double weight and two for a 3/4 flying insect. Whenever a creature you control dies without flying dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control with a flying counter on it. Now, the first thing that people like came up with was Uro with Solemnity, because then Uro doesn't get the counters, and then he just keeps coming back. And obviously, you have the choice to, or you can just completely go infinite, where you just basically like draw your whole deck and then put all of your lands into play. And while it doesn't work, well, it kills you really if you can't break it up somehow by either getting rid of the Uro, the Solemnity, or the Luminous Broodmoth that keeps bringing it back. However, there is a lot of cool things that you can do with this card that really just kind of give you a lot of value. You know, like a 4 mana 3/4 flyer isn't bad. By like today's standards, it's not like super great, but it can be aggressive. You could play this in like a white weenie strategy, and the fact that like your creatures essentially have like undying and like they get this flying counter put on them, basically makes it hard for them to for your opponent to really block. And like while people are looking like at the combo potential of this card, I think there's a lot of just decks that like mono white aggro, where like you have your lords, you have like your efficient like white creatures, your 2 mana 2/1 like first strikers, and your 2 mana 2/2s, and like they give you some kind of value. All right. There's also like all these like flyers, like blue white flyers and things like that. Um, where really like this card could just shine in like a mono white shell, where just your creatures die, like you get value from your creatures dying, they come back, they have flying, they fly over and they hit your opponent. Like if they get an extra 2 4 points of damage, that's essentially like 4 damage that Luminous Broodmoth like did, plus the 3 that she could be doing in the air too. A card that just demands an answer, where if your opponent's playing a lot of like targeted removal and they remove the Broodmoth before they really even interact with your board, they're still dying to your 1/2s and 3 drops, to the point where like they just now need a mass answer to what's going on. And if they don't, they die. And if they do, well then you still only played like 4 cards, compared to most people having to like dump their whole hand and then obviously hope that the draw steps are going to be able to win the game. I think that's what Luminous Broodmoth can help, is just being a lightning rod for removal. And when she doesn't get removed, but like your creatures don't necessarily win in combat, then they can win in combat because they just get to come back. Flying I think is a very people joke about it. It's like, oh, I'll just make a flying deck because you can never block it. But like that's kind of how it is in terms of this, because like when you already have like some pretty good creatures, and then you give them flying or whatever, then like they just get way better. Um, with Luminous Broodmoth, that's the thing to like keep in mind, is that like flying is overrated and underrated all at the same time, and it just depends on the person you're playing whether they can deal with it or not. And I think a lot of the decks in standard right now, if you have like either you have to be playing Embercleave or you have to find a way to go over top of your opponent, and this can literally go over the top of your opponent. Uh, Again, if even if they like wipe your board or whatever, and they have Luminous Broodmoth, and you have Luminous Broodmoth in play, then all those come back. This is White's like Wrath protection for that, without giving like all of its creatures indestructible and things like that. It's just you play this on turn 4. Your opponent tries to flame sweep. They try to um, Ritual of Soot. They try to just destroy your board. Anyway, this card just brings all those non-flying creatures back and makes them flying. That is amazing, and I think this card will definitely see some standard play. People are gonna mess around with it. I don't think it's going to be played in modern for the sheer fact that like I don't think anybody really needs this kind of protection. I think a lot of what modern is now is just trying to be as fast as possible. Legacy as well, like kind of the same thing. Pioneer, I could see some like white weenie type strategies that just want to play Broodmoth as a decently aggressive creature that also helps back them up. Um, Selfless Spirit, while being like a good one, I think Broodmoth gives you a higher ceiling and allows you to actually win games through like the control decks and things like that, where they have to like answer Broodmoth and then answer the board all in the same time, and like you just kind of stress their mana and put them on having specific exact answers rather than just ambiguous answers and more like three, four, or five cards solve the problem. Where now it's like two very specific cards for two very specific situations that Luminous Broodmoth can create. But yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions on Luminous Broodmoth. Really powerful white card, doing something that like we really haven't seen. Obviously, putting flying counters on creatures is something that we've never seen before. Or just like keyword counters in general, but this card just gives you a lot of protection, gives you a lot of like hidden value that the card itself doesn't give you, but really what it does for the other ones if she gets to stick around, which is really sweet, and for like the aggressive players, really good for them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this like overview and my take on Luminous Broodmoth for Magic in general. If you like the video and you want to see more spoiler videos, you want to see me like rank some of these new Ikoria like cycles that we have, and even some other sweet like uh, modern standard Pioneer decks. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the videos, comment on them, like what you want to see, because I'll definitely am willing to do shift things in general directions depending on like what people actually want to see and stuff like that to keep the masses happy. But hopefully you guys are enjoying spoiler season. I know I am. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you guys in future videos, and I hope to see you in the next one.